So very good morning, my dear student. We are in the second section of this course, phytopathology. Right, from today onwards, we are going to continue with this course, mainly focusing on the phytopathology. The phytopathology or the plant pathology, you will know this is the course or the science deals with the cause and etiology and the resulting losses and damages, control or management of these plant diseases, right? This is a science mainly. It's a dealing with what is the cause of this particular disease and what is the how this cause penetrate and invade and multiply and reproduce and it is surviving. This is we call it as an etiology, or sometimes we maybe call it as a biology of the pathogen. And if it is completing its life cycle, what are the damages and the losses this pathogen can cause on the cost? When we cost mean the plant, and what are the control or management aspects you can take as a plant pathologist or as a farmer. It's all together is dealing with the section we call it as a phytopathology or plant pathology, right? Plant pathology. So plant pathology, we are not much telling. So because mainly we are focusing on the crops, right? That's what it is. Mainly there people are telling it that phytopathology and the plant pathology, both are similar, right? Both are similar. So an objective of the phytopathology. So what are the there are different objectives we are expecting from this course. So how that living entities means this microorganism, if it is causing the disease, we call it as a pathogens. How these living entities that can cause the disease on plants is the first objective. The second one, non-living entities and environmental conditions that can also cause disorder, or that environmental condition can favor that growth and multiply and reproduction of these pathogens. The third is, what are the mechanisms these disease causing organisms use to defend the defense mechanism of the host, right? Next objective is that the interaction between the causal agent and the host plant in relation to the overall environment, whether the plant can defend or the pathogen can overwhelm the defense mechanism of the host. One, what in how this environment suitable for the pathogen and host. Right? This is we call the interaction of these host pathogen environment. Right? And finally, so what are the methods and tactics you are going to use or you can use when you are working as a plant pathologist, or if you are cultivating, if you are a farmer, what are the techniques and tactics you can use, how these governments and the governmental organization and the non-governmental organization should take measures to help to minimize these disease incidences in the national or international level. So those things we will discuss in this course. This we call it as an objectives of this phytopathology. So what are the causes? We will move one by one. So what are the causes of the plant diseases? You all know. So biotic organism or mesobiotic organism or abiotic organisms can cause the diseases and disorders. Sometimes, so if it is an abiotic, mainly we are telling it as a disorders. But some literature or the earlier science is telling that some environmental stress can also cause the diseases, right? But this is mainly we are telling these are disorders, but diseases also okay. So according to the cause of the disease, so if you are taking the biotic causes, there are several biotic causes are there. The fungi, bacteria, phytoplasma, nematodes, algae, and pheronogums, and rickettsia and protozoa. So these all organisms can cause the diseases. But in case if we are taking the plant diseases, we will focus mainly on the fungi, bacteria, phytoplasma, and nematode. The other section, algae and pheromones and rickettsia and protozoa, these organisms' importance in the plant pathology is very, very negligible, right? Very, very negligible. Maybe one or two, maybe non-conformative diseases by using by these organisms. But mainly fungi and bacteria and phytoplasma nematodes, we will study detail, right? But we will not touch much the nematode also. Why? So because there is a separate course is there in the 3-2. If you are going, if you are in a specialization, if you are planning to specialize in agricultural biology, definitely you will study these course nematodes, but mainly we will focus on fungi, bacteria, phytoplasma, and into the mesophytic course viruses also we will focus, right? The disease, or because why we are classifying the viruses as mesobiotic causes, because in the environment they are non-living, but if it is they are inside the host, they are living. That's what we are classifying this one as the mesobiotic causes, viruses and viroids. And inanimate or abiotic causes also that can cause the disease. Mainly we call it as a disorders, but some literature is saying diseases, but it has been proven. For example, the deficiency or excess nutrition in some rice plant, it can cause a Keira diseases. So the Keira disease is in Indian terms, but mainly in India due to that sudden deficiency, the plant is showing that symptom. We call it the Keira disease. But mainly these abiotic factors influences the disease caused by the biotic factor, but these extreme condition of these environmental conditions can cause the disorders, mainly disorders. But some scorching and other things is confused. That's what people are telling this as also disease, right? Disease, but mainly we are telling as a disorders. For example, lack of oxygen. Example, they are telling that hello and black heart of potato. Right? Air pollution is a black tip of mango. This is they are telling it as a disease, but mainly these are disorders. Abnormalities in soil condition, alkalinity and acidity. The plant will show yellowing of leaves, stunted growth, sometimes so bushy type plants. Is mainly disorders, but it's misclassifying. Doesn't matter whether there is disease or disorders. If you are writing in the exam point of view, we will give a marks whether it is a disease or disorders. That's don't worry about. But mainly we are, if it is an abiotic, mainly we are telling this one as a disorders. That is based on the cause. You can classify into 3: abiotic, right, mesobiotic, and biotic. Okay. Then classification of the diseases based on the type of pathogen if the pathogen is causes, type of pathogens. Mainly we are calling it as an infectious diseases and non-infectious diseases, because so that's what I told you. So if the biotic or mesobiotic organisms are involving to cause a disease, these are infectious diseases. It can be able to spread one organism, one host plant to another host plant. But the non-infectious disease or non-parasitic or physiological diseases will not be spread, right? Because it's an individual. It's an individual. It's not spread to one host plant to other host plants. That's what also you can classify into two: infectious plant diseases and non-infectious plant diseases. So in here, biotic and mesobiotic are in the infectious category. Non-infectious categories are the inanimate causes, so abiotic causes. The classification of the plant diseases is based on the symptoms also you can classify. The nature of the infection also you can classify. The habitat and the mode of perpetuation of the spread also you can classify. And affected plant part you can also classify. And type of plant parts you can also classify into different groups. For example, based on the symptoms and signs, you can call it as rust, CIMAT. This is a rust disease. This is a CIMAT disease. This is a blight disease. So nature of the infection also you can classify. This one is a systemic or localized. For example, if you are taking the wilt, the fusarium wilt, this is systemic because only they are targeting mainly on the vascular tissues. They are systemic. Localized means sometimes if you are if you are seeing any leaf spot, it's a localized. It is not systemic. There is no any vascular tissues are not affected. Only tissues, leaf tissue. That's what we call it as a maybe systemic, maybe localized. The habitat of the pathogen or mode of perpetuation also you can classify airborne disease, seed-borne disease, soil-borne disease. For example, if you are taking the Phytophthora, so mainly Phytophthora is a seed-borne disease. Sometimes so rain spell can help to spread. For example, if you are taking the blast disease caused by the Machnopothecus ricei or brown spot disease, Helminthosporium ricei, or some of the CIMAD diseases, here CIMAD diseases caused by the Ustulogomaides or some other causes, it is mainly a seed-borne diseases. Some are airborne diseases. For example, if you are taking the rust, it's a purely an airborne disease, rust diseases. An affected plant part, in which part is affected also you can classify if it's an aerial part or the root diseases. So root diseases mainly Pythium, Phytophthora, Sclerotium, and these are we called as root diseases. Leaf spot, Alternaria, solar, Alternaria leaf spot, powdery mildew, downy mildew. This is we called as an aerial. Only the leaf part is targeted, right? Root knot, and these are root diseases. And type of plant, so also cereal diseases, pulse diseases. Some are only causes cereal plants, not in vegetables. Some are only causes of pulses. There is no any attacking on the vegetables or other. Some are mainly focusing on the oilseed crops, not in other crops. That is because of the host specificity. Some family crops are prone to have these diseases, not other. So they, according to that also, you can classify at this. But main classification is based on the cause. That is the one, right? Second one is the nature of the disease, the infectious or non-infectious. These two are very important. But this classification also using by the plant pathologists for the advanced classifications, right? Advanced classification. But the basic classification, two basic classifications are very, very important. But this is also you can classify. If a question asks how you can classify the disease, then you have to write these three methods, right? Three categories. So, and then what is actually a plant disease? We are talking about these phytopathologies are dealing with an etiology and biology and infection and damage and losses and management of the disease. So if you are not knowing about what is disease, then what's the meaning of this study? What is disease actually? So disease is abnormal condition. If you are a normal, you are healthy. If you are in the abnormal conditions, we call it as you are disease, not a diseased. Disease. There are two spelling: D-I-S-E-A-C, D-A-C-A-C. D-I-C-A-C, disease means died. If you are a disease, severe disease, then definitely you will be deceased. COVID-19. So that's a disease. But if it is severely, then you will be deceased. You will be right. So disease is an abnormal condition. So if you are a normal, or if you are any host is not normal, we call it as an abnormal that alter the appearance and the function of the plant. That is, we call it as a disease, right? Or it is the physiological process that affects some or all plant functions. Disease may also reduce the yield quality of the harvested products. So disease means definitely the organism should involve. This organism should disturb the function, normal function of the host plant. Then if the function is disturbed, the plant will show the abnormalities. These abnormalities we call it as a symptoms. So then finally, this is also called as a disease, right? So it is a physiological process or physiological function is affected by the biotic cause. We call it as a disease. Also, the plant will become an abnormal condition. So that's what we are studying 1-2 plant physiology. If you are clearly know about the plant physiology only as a plant because plant pathologist should know all the things. He should know the breeding, he should know the cell biology, he should know the plant physiology, he should know the crop physiology, he should know the agronomic practices, everything. That's the thing, the beauty of the plant pathology is they should know everything, organisms and organism classification, organism biology, everything. If a person know only, that is the thing. So it is very difficult to become a plant pathologist because people are not. If you are targeting on the pathogen and the host plant only, you will not be a plant pathologist. But why? So if you are going to cause elimination of the cause, that's the plant doctors. We call it as a plant pathologist as a plant doctors. They should know all the things. And so if you are, for example, if you are going to a doctor for a fever, and he will ask for the urine test, fecal test, everything. Why? The cause can cause a dysfunction of this normal function of the systems, the collapsing the system. That's what they are asking for, this test, that test, this test. Here also, the physiological function is affected. Which function is affected is not known. So we have to identify everything. That's the elimination of the cause. Right? Elimination. Disease may be reduced yield and quality of the harvested product. Disease is a process or a change that occurs over time. It doesn't occur instantly like injury. Right? It processes or changes occur over the time. It is a time using. It doesn't occur instantly like an injury. Immediately it can focus. Because why? For example, COVID-19, if you are contacted with a person, definitely you should isolate it for 14 days. Why? So because it takes time to incubate, then it proliferate and to show the symptoms. It's not sudden. That's what you are taking. First time PCR, 14 days PCR. Like that here, disease is a process. It will take time. So pathogen should recognize the host. Once it's recognized the host, it should penetrate. So then once it has penetrated, it should draw the nutrition from the host successfully. It should break the defense of the host. If it is break the defense of the host mean, then it is success. If it is success only, then it can multiply. Then the plant, at the time, this plant to show the symptoms. So it will take time. If it is bacteria, definitely you can expect that 72 hours. But if it is a fungi, it will take nearly 14 days to 28 days to complete some life cycles. If it is a viruses, it may be quick. Right? Maybe okay, depend on the host pathogen interactions. That's a called, that's what is, so it will take time. So this we call it as a plant disease and the cyclic disease. And once the plant diseases are there, if the pathogen is successfully colonizing the host, then plant symptoms will be appear. The plant symptoms will be appear. So because it's disrupt the function of the plant physiological function is disrupt, then the plant started to defend against the pathogen. So if it is defending, then the plant will show something as a symptom. Right? For example, rotting, so necrotic symptoms, and dying of the plant, wilting. It may be the both due to the defense, or it may be the pathogens. Right? So detectable changes in color, shapes, function of the plant in response to the pathogen or disease causing agent is called as a symptom. So visual effect of a disease on plant. It's a visual effect. So in these symptoms and the signs are different extremely, but people are sometimes confused, right? Symptom is in visual appearances of the plant due to the infectious causal agent or cause. Signs is the physical evidence of the pathogen. For example, if you are taking the road, we are going there in the market. You want to buy a papaya. The papaya, if you are finding that black color fungi development or black color rotting with the fungal spores, or fungal mycelia, greenish color or yellowish color, blackish color or whitish color, that is we call it as sign. Why? The physically pathogen is present. The symptoms, it will not present. For example, in the wilt is a symptom. Sometimes in the rot, maybe fungal appearances will be there. So that is both are there. Both are there. Signs and symptoms, both are there. Sign is a physical evidence of the pathogen. Maybe cyst or maybe ooze. Sometimes you can observe this one under the microscope. If you are taking the symptom samples, you observe under microscopes, definitely you will see the signs, right? It's physical appearances of the, right? So now you are clear about symptoms and signs. So then the disease triangles. I told you the pathogen is there, the host is there. So every time if the pathogen and host in interacting, can you expect the disease? If you are expecting the disease every time, this is not a host pathogen interaction. So because it's a permanent interaction. If the host and the pathogen is interacting, if it is causing the disease, there should be some characters, basic characters. So the host should be a susceptible, right? It's prone to have a disease. The pathogen should be a very virulent. So all the microorganisms, everywhere you can expect the microorganisms. All the microorganisms are not causing the disease. And all the time also you are not expecting. For example, some of the viral diseases or some of the fungal diseases or the bacterial diseases. For example, if in the rainy season, definitely you will expect the sneezing and cough with the mucus. But in the very hot season, definitely you can expect a cough with a dry cough. No mucus and other things. So diarrhea and other things you will not expect in the dry season, the wet season. Why? This wet condition is favor that microorganism to target the host. At the time, the host is susceptible. Why? This environment is influencing. So, if you want to expect the disease, successful disease, there are some characters. The pathogen should be virulent, very aggressive. So that's what the COVID-19. So every time it is changing, the new strains are coming. Some strains are very virulent. Some are not virulent, right? So that is called as a pathogenicity, ability of the pathogen that can cause the disease. We call it as a pathogenicity. It is measured as a virulent, right? We will study these terminologies a bit later, right? So pathogen. So pathogen is interacting with its host. Host should be a susceptible. If the host is very resistant, some people they will not get any disease. So even in the COVID-19, some people are giving the positive to the PCR. They are not showing symptoms because they are very resistant, right? So pathogen should be a virulent, host should be a susceptible, environment should be a favorable. Environment favorable means if you are traveling with the COVID-19 person or we are very close contact with the COVID-19, the condition, environment is successful for the disease. Right? For example, for the sesame close contamination, environmental temperature, moisture, and rainfall, other things. This is we call it as a disease tetrahedron, disease triangle. Three factors are interacting. That is we call it as a disease triangle. And next slide you can find for the favorable environment. Role of environment is critically important for disease development. Even the most susceptible plant exposed to a huge amount of pathogen will not develop a disease unless environmental conditions are favorable. Even you may be weaker, or the host may be weaker with an lot of amount of pathogen. But if the pathogen is avirulent, there is no any virulency, that will not cause a disease. Or maybe pathogen may be virulent, host may be susceptible. If the environmental is not suitable, you cannot expect the disease. So therefore, the pathogen should be virulent and host should be susceptible. At the time, environment should be favorable. The environment is not interacting, definitely you cannot expect that disease. That's the thing, it's a role of environment. Right? So in the disease triangle, so this pathogen side also you have to look at. Host side also you have to look at. Environmental side also you have to look at. Right? The host side, host should be the susceptible host, be cultivar or crop. You would have studied in the agronomy. If you are taking a tomato, there are a lot of varieties. The KC1, Aroma, Athilini, and different varieties. So if all the varieties you are cultivating in the same place, maybe one or two varieties can get some diseases. Other varieties cannot get the disease. Why? Because of these hosts, some of these varieties are resistant to that disease. Some are not resistant. For example, KC1 is you will get the very big tomato, but tomato is not bit tasty, but it's very prone to disease. Root knot, especially root knot tomato and other things. But if you're taking the Roma, very good small size and very good size and shape and very tasty fruit, or in even few diseases, they are not resistant. That is depend on the cultivar and the crop susceptibility. If you're taking a pathogen factor, should be a virulent pathogen. It may be any organisms, fungi or bacteria, nematode or mycoplasma, should be virulent. And environment should be favorable. So if the time of host and pathogen interacting, the temperature is very high. The temperature is very high, mean definitely you will not expect these diseases. Why? So these diseases need a moisture, mainly many diseases. Then at the time you can expect the viral diseases in the high temperature. So because at the time, so vectors will be very active, especially white flies and thrips and aphids. So they can transmit the viruses easily to the host. The moist conditions, definitely those insects will not be there. You will not expect the viral. That's the problem. The viral disease you will not expect in the rainy season. But in the bacterial and fungal disease, especially fungal disease, are very high in the rainy season. That's why the farmers are crying in the over-raining of nowadays, right? And moisture and soil type and pH, sometimes pH. For example, chlamydospore, the clubroot disease in cabbage, right? Clubroot disease in the cabbage. So definitely this disease you can expect in the acid pH conditions. The scab of potato. The scab of potato definitely you can expect in the alkaline conditions. So these are there. This is because of the pH. Some soil types, right? Those all things are influencing. This is we call it as a disease triangle. And every factors, host factor, pathogen factor, environmental factor, we will study detailedly in the another class, right? So this is disease triangle and disease tetrahedron. Another thing is there. Here time is also involved. Environment will be there, pathogen will be there, plant will be there. So they will interact at the particular time. In the favorable condition, the host pathogen will be there, but the time, sometimes some diseases are affecting at the seedling stage. Some are definitely you can expect in the flowering stages. Definitely CIMAT, when it is plant rises at the time of dough stage, right? After panicle initiation, milky stage finished, then dough stage, definitely you can expect a CIMAT. At the CIMAT, at the time, so if your rice is in the seedling stage or it is fully filled stage, fully matured stage, definitely you cannot expect the disease. That is we called as, and the one scientist who proposed that the MESS, right? MESS's theory is saying that, so time is another factor. So instead of these three factors, time also you have to consider to while you are designing the cropping calendar to escape from these diseases. For example, some damping offs are mainly the seedling disease, right? So if you are direct sowing time, sometimes definitely your field get infected with this Pythium and Phytophthora. See this damping off disease. Then if you are carrying that in the nursery, then you are transplanting, so that disease will seedling stage will be escaped from the pathogen. Definitely you will not get any diseases. That is the time. So for the escaping mechanism, to time is another factor. It's considered as a fourth component. The time may be influenced by the human, right? Human. So this is we call it as a time. Human also sometimes will come here because some environmental condition will be there if there is no any injury. But at the time of plowing or intercultural operation, the human can make damage to the plant. Definitely this pathogen can go in. So pathogen is maybe come inside instead of time also, right? So we can write time or the human, no problem. So this is, we are moving now bit and bit into the disease phytopathology, the disease cycle, right? So before going into the disease cycle, if you have any doubt, please you can ask any questions. So disease cycle. So actually the disease cycle is mainly suitable for these fungi, but sometimes this is applicable to bacteria and viruses and mycoplasma and the nematodes too. So mainly this one is suitable for fungi and nematode, but it's a basic cycle. It's a basic cycle. So disease cycle mean for the successful disease development. So there are, I told you, it's a sudden, it's not a sudden outbreak. It is a series of process. The series of process, when successfully completed, definitely the disease will occur in your host. This chain of events involved in the disease development, we call it as a disease cycle. It's a chain of events. Continuous, it will continue. Right? It will continue. That's what we call it as a chain of events. So this is starting from the arrival of the whole pathogen. You can see here, right? So disease is a cyclic process. So definitely, if you want your host to get a disease, there should be a pathogen, right? This pathogen may be from some other areas coming as a newly in your field, or from the previous cultivation, it can target your next season. That is, we call it as an primary inoculum, or the inoculum is needed for the disease cycle. Disease cycle, you need an inoculum. Inoculum means unit of infective unit. Infective unit, we call it as an inoculum. So one unit of inoculum we call it as a propagule, right? Don't forget, one unit of inoculum we call it as a propagule. Inoculum is any part of the pathogen that can cause the infection. We call it as an inoculum. Got it? Any part of the pathogen that can cause the disease or that can cause an infection, we call it as an inoculum. So one unit of inoculum, we call it as a propagule. Okay? This is. So if the inoculum is coming from other areas to your field first time, this is we call it as a primary inoculum. It's not prevailed previously in your field. Right? That is we call it as a primary inoculum. Another one is the secondary inoculum. The secondary inoculum means inoculum coming from your field, from your previous cultivation. That is we call it as a secondary inoculum. Right? So any infection can initiate with the primary inoculum or the secondary inoculum. Both can use primary inoculum and secondary inoculum. So this inoculum should disseminate it. If it is there in the secondary inoculum or primary inoculum, it should reach the host. That is we call it as a dissemination of inoculum. Don't worry about primary or secondary. Dissemination. It should disseminate somewhere else and should reach and fall and contact with the host. Right? So once it's reached, it takes some time for incubation. That's what I told you. So if you're COVID-19, if you're close contact with the COVID-19 person, it takes some times, at least minimum of 72 hours to get penetrated. Otherwise, it will be there in the nasal region, the COVID-19, right? After 72 hours, it will go inside, then it will show positive or negative in your PCR test. Right? That's what we are taking second time also. That is we call it as an incubation. right? So once it's incubated, so this incubation comes sometimes, so after so incubation is there if you are putting here, but this may be time period. So time periods from the initial contact, initial attachment of the pathogen until the symptom development. This period we call it as incubation period, right? From this attachment to development of the symptom, we call it as an incubation period, right? Incubation period. An incubation period from the attachment to symptom development, the period is needed to, that is we call it as an incubation period. At this incubation period, definitely varies with pathogen to pathogen. It varies to pathogen to pathogen. So now the pathogen is reached here. So it will incubate. Once in the incubated incubation period means, so once it there is, it's attachment. It needs some attached with the host. Once it's attached, then it will recognize it. This host is suitable or not for that. If it is recognizing by using the signal, if it is host is suitable, then it will penetrate it, right? So once it's attachment, it will penetrate and it will recognize. Recognize is the third step, right? Before that, it will penetrate, right? Before that, it will penetrate. So once it's attached, it will penetrate, then recognize it, whether its host is suitable or not. At the time, if the host is not producing any defect, so if it is producing defect, there is no further. If it is not producing any defect, this will continue. Right? This will continue. That is the beauty, right? So if there is an defense is there, it will not move. There is no any defense, it will infect it. Infect it means it will produce its nutrition drawing structures. We call it as a hostoria. From that, it will draw the nutrition. Once it draw the nutrition, it will further spread. We call it as an invasion. Once it's fully invaded, then it will think that the host is suitable. Then it is growth and develop and reproduce. Invasion. Then it will colonize it, growth and reproduce. So at the times you can expect the symptoms. Spores will be there at the time of yellowing of leaves and stunted growth and wilting. Symptom development is mean the disease cycle is completed. Once this symptom at the time, definitely you can expect the reproduction of the reproductive structures, spores, cells, and everything. This reproductive structures, if there is no any other host, so you are at the harvesting stage, definitely they will go for a dormant stage. Dormant stage mean, so they will be there in the field at a sleeping stage for waiting for the next crop, next cropping season. Right? So that's what the farmers are maintaining a period, certain period, 3 months in between the cropping as a fallow period to break this dormancy and kill this organism or inoculum. Right? So this is the chain of events we call it as a disease cycle. So we will study each and every steps in this disease cycle, right? We will study each and every study of this disease cycle. So next comparison of the disease cycle. So I told you this is a disease cycle. This disease cycle maybe varies with pathogen to pathogens. For example, if you are taking the fungi, bacteria, viruses, and nematode, so where they can survive, crop residues or host, the host insect viruses, insect vectors, and the crop residues of soil as a dormant stage. So once the condition is okay, then they will disperse. How they are dispersing in, they will use 3 modes. Sometimes they are using the 4 mode, mainly 3 mode. They will use wind, they will use rain, they will use insect, or they will use farm implements. For example, these fungal diseases, they are using 3 mode, wind, rain, farm implements. Bacteria using 4 mode, wind, rain, insect, and farm implements. Viruses, they are moving only 1 mode, insects. 1 mode, insect. The fungi, so there are some cases, the insect also helping to the fungi, but in rare cases, right? In the rare cases. So if it is a pathogen is spreading through wind, we call it as this one is a hydrophile. If they are using the rain water, it's hydrophile. If they are using the wind, we call it as an anemophile. If they are using insect, we call it as an entomophile. Right? There are 3 different stages this pathogen can use. So one, the infection is how the infection can happen. So they can directly penetrate the host, or if there is an injury, then it can go inside, or sometimes insect can help. For example, in the nematode, they are directly penetrating by using the stylet. The fungi, so it can directly penetrate by producing the penetration peck, or it can go inside by wound, or insect can help. Insect feeding damage the leaves is making holes. Bacteria, wounds, and insect feeding, these 2. There is no direct penetration of the bacteria. So this is the comparison of how these pathogens survive, how these pathogens are dispersed, how these pathogens are causing an infective stage. It is very, these are summarized things. You should remember these things, because if you are remembering and if you are very clear in this step, the study of the other steps are very easy. Study of other steps are very easy. We will go to the pathogen survival. So this is in the summary, right? This is the summary stage here. So that's what I am going to skip here. It can be there in the soil. It can be there in the crop residues. It can be there in the weed. It can be there in the vegetative and plant parts. It can be there, especially in viruses, there in the insect associate, or in the mild climates. So mild climates mean it will be there in the moisture. It's a short term. For example, fungal spores and viruses and bacteria will be there in the moisture. That is called as a mild climates. It's in the season to season how these pathogens and where these pathogens are surviving. So this is a survival structures. Different pathogens are producing different survival structures. For example, bacteria producing bacterial cell or endospores as a survival structure. Viruses only, survive as a virus particle in the insect vectors or in the environment. Mainly insect vectors, plant. Nematode, it can survive as a juvenile, J2 to J4, or egg. We produce egg, it will be there in the egg, or it may be adult, anhydrous stage. They will lose the water and it will go to the sleeping stage. Anhydrous stage also we call it as. Nematode also survive these 3. The fungi, they can say survive as a spores. Different type of sexual and asexual spores they are producing, and one of these spores can help to survive of this fungus. These are the sexual spores. These are the asexual structures, asexual spores, and the other structures. Dormant mycelia. So fungi can survive as a dormant mycelia as well. The single cell mycelia can survive in the dormant stage, and it acts as an infective unit for the next season. And scleratio. So mycelium is coiled and it will aggregate and it forms a sclerotia, very hard structure like a mustard seed. Will be there in the soil maybe 10 to 20 years. Right? 10 to 20 years. Nematode also, the egg, they will produce cyst. You add it. Please add it as a 4th factor. It's a cyst. Cyst also can be present. Right? The cyst, they can also survive as a cyst in the They can survive as a cyst in the soil for a long-term survival, right? They can survive as a cyst also. And so source of inoculum varies with each and disease. Source of inoculum, that's what I told you in earlier studied, right? So maybe present in the soil, seed and insect, vector, animal and birds and crop residues, everywhere it will be there. These inoculum, these sources can act as a carrying inoculum, act as a carrying of inoculum. So this from there, definitely this we call as a source of inoculum. In the soil, you can find residues, you can find the seed, sticking equipment and tools, water, wind, animals vector, everywhere you can find this one as a source of inoculum. And they are this inoculum spread in different ways. I told you there are 4 ways. That is, it is shown here. So here this way, host plant, how this a host plant is a seed plant to seed plant, because you are mixing here now. That's what it is there in the seed to seed, it will transmit. Or the implements, how it is while moving, they are spreading the inoculum. You see by the plowing, it may be there in the one spot. If you are plowing, definitely you can spread. So these are the steps of the disease cycle. First cycle is an inoculation. Right? I told you. So once the pathogen is there, once the pathogen is reached there, so it's reached there, it should be inoculated. It means penetrate and recognize. That process we call it as an inoculation. So inoculum, the arrival of the pathogen on the host, we call it as an inoculation. Arrival of the pathogen on the host. You are doing in the laboratory, you are artificially inoculating. The pathogen will not come now. With the culture plate, what you are doing, you are taking inoculate. Here, arrival of the pathogen on the host, coming from somewhere else and deposit. So inoculum that land on the host or any part of the pathogen that can initiate the infection, we call it as an inoculum. That's what I told you. Any part of the pathogen that can initiate the infection, we call it as an inoculum. So there are type of inoculum. I told you there are primary inoculum. So the inoculum from the, the sources from the dormant period, then coming and initiate the infection, we call it as a primary inoculum. From somewhere else, the primary inoculum is causing an infection, we call it as a primary infection. The secondary inoculum, I told you, it will be there in the soil, it causing the disease in the same crops, right? Same crops in the same period. For example, if you are cultivating the rice, right? So if the rice blast is there, if it is attacked to the one spot of your land, then from this spores from the same season is attacking on the same crop and the same field or any other field, that is we call it as a secondary inoculum, not the other field. The same inoculum attacking in the same field, in the same season, we call it as a secondary inoculum. So inoculation produced by the primary infections. So primary infection, we call it as a secondary inoculum. Infection caused by the secondary inoculum, we call it as a secondary infections. I hope that you are very clear about that, right? So primary inoculum will be there. For the next season, it can start infection. It will be secondary inoculum is a same season. So from the primary inoculum produced offspring can initiate the infection. We call it as a secondary inoculum and we call it as a secondary infection. So landing and arrival of the inoculum, mostly carried by these factors, wind, water, and insect, right? Only a small number actually land on the susceptible plant. If the fungi is producing 1 million spores, right? The 1 million spores, maybe 10 to 15 spores will reach the host surfaces. So others will die. That's what these pathogens they are producing a lot. Others will die. If it is 1 is there or 10 is there, then that is enough to create a big loss. Create a big loss. So vector-borne pathogens, viruses, vectors have an attraction on 4 plants. Right? Vectors mean if your tomato is there, So white flies that with the tomato from the volatile compounds from the tomato, it attract the white flies. That's how the white flies carrying the viruses and inoculating the viruses into the tomato plant while sucking the sap. Right? So landing and arrival of the inoculum may be germination of the spores of seeds, fungus, catching of the nematode eggs, attachment of the pathogen to the host, viruses and the bacteria, and the recognition between the host and pathogen. It is very important once it's reached. For example, I will take one fungal spores here. Right? The fungal spores reach the host surfaces. Okay? What the fungal surface, the spores, then environmental condition is suitable, should be suitable. Meanwhile, the fungal spores should stick on the host surfaces. For that, it needs a small drop of water or the moisture. If it is there, then the fungal spores producing certain silmy substances, that is very sticky substances, that will stick the fungal spore on the host wall, very stick tightly. Once it's sticked, then the spores will produce start to germinate. Okay? So germinate, producing a tube, initial insect tube we call it as a germination tube. This is a germination tube, germ tube. The end of the germ tube is a very delicate, very sharp. That is we call it as a penetration peck. Right? Penetration peck. The pathogen germ tube is produced. If it is going to penetrate here, it needs a certain support. If they are producing support only, it will penetrate now. So for example, if you want to climb it, first you should clamp very tightly, then you can climb it, no? Otherwise you cannot. So for example, if you are going to penetrate some of these lances into the soil or knife, you need a force. For the force you are taking from inside. How this force can do is, host will produce at the end of the penetration peck a structure we call it as an aprosorium. We call it as an aprosorium, very bulgy, very cushion-like structures. It permanently fixed. It means with sucking, like a sucking pad. Sucking pad we are using the windows to hang the boards, no sucking pad, the cars and other things we are using sucking pad. Like that, this aprosorium will act as a sucking pad. This aprosorium only they are sucking pad, and also they are producing copious amount of enzymes. These are enzymes can able to damage the cellulose, pectin, bipectinases are present in the cell wall of the host tissues. Once this aprosorium is producing amount of enzymes, then it will be degraded in this area. Then this penetration peck will push it. That areas, because it's damaged area, then quickly this penetration peck go in. Once it's going in, or at the time of producing enzyme, the pathogen is defending, it recognizes, okay, some foreign particle is coming, then it will, pathogen host will alert its defense system to produce defense mechanisms. So like an anti-weapon. This host, the aprosorium is producing enzymes we call it as a fungal weapons. Penetration peck is a physical weapon. So right, physical weapon plus enzyme weapon, both together, changing, attacking the host, pathogen will produce anti-weapons, anti-missiles. Like, so it's like an attack, war, no? It's like a war. Anti-weapons. So this is the anti-weapon is abolishing or restricting like a bond here. You will study later and what are the structures these organisms are producing. For example, I will draw these things here. Right, this is produced, it's a physical weapon. It's a chemical weapon. It's try to protect here. So the host tissue will produce an anti-weapon here, anti-missiles. So anti-missiles, what will the order the cell? This nucleus will order the host cell to die. That's what you will find the leaf spot. It's in between the spot. There will be yellow halo. This area is died. Suicide, the cells. The plant cell is alerting that to die around the pathogen infected cells to die. So there is no any food for the pathogen will not spread. The pathogen spores will die. It's a one defense mechanism. Another defense mechanism is started to accumulation of certain structures, substances around these cells, then act as a barrier. It's a border, very hardy structure. So pathogen cannot penetrate, move inside. This is restricted in this area. We call it as a corky layer. It's very dark black structures. Right? Pathogen is arrested. There is no movement. Defense is alert. If the pathogen is very virulent, then it will produce certain other more chemical, other more anti-missiles, to missile, right? Enzymes to break these structures, If the structures is broken, then okay, pathogen will very successfully colonize it. So it means spread it intercellular, intracellular, and produces certain structures to draw the nutrients. These structures, like a bulb-like structures, we call it as an aprosorium. Not sorry, aprosorium, it's hostoria. This hostoria draw the nutrition and giving the energy to the growing mycelia or growing pathogen. So we call it as an hostoria. It's draw the nutrition and supplying success. So then the host defense is broken now it is happy. Pathogen is very happy because the host is they have overwhelmed the host, broken the defense. Then pathogen will multiply and finally it will reproduce here. Suppose that's the way the infection cycle is going, and finally it will successfully complete. Right? Successfully completing. So I am stopping here with. Then if you won't ask any questions and you can ask, then we will continue with the next classes. You want to ask